Jones and the Dial of Destiny is the 5th installment in this Indiana Jones franchise and the first Indiana Jones movie we've gotten since Kingdom of the Crystal Skull in 2008. This movie takes place in the year 1969. Indiana Jones is well retired from teaching, from exploring. He's kind of just the crotchety old man in the apartment at this point. Until one day he's approached by his estranged goddaughter, Helena Shaw, played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. She recruits him to go on this adventure to find this artifact known as the Dial of Destiny that can change the course of time. And the two of them are basically in a race for it against the Nazis, being led by Mads Mikkelsen, who attempt to use the device to change the outcome of World War II. I am a big fan of Indiana Jones. The franchise, the character, all of it. I think Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones, it's one of the greatest characters in the history of movies. I absolutely love everything about Indy. I mean, he's tough, he's smart, he's a great explorer, he's so skilled and crafty with his words and his skills. He has a confidence to himself that just makes you believe in him, it makes you want to get on board with him. He's awesome. And the original Indiana Jones trilogy is easily one of my favorite trilogies of all time. I absolutely love those movies. Raiders of the Lost Ark, I've never made a top 10 best list of all time, but if I ever did, Raiders of the Lost Ark would be somewhere on that list, absolutely. And then the way The Last Crusade ended, with Indiana Jones riding off into the sunset, you would think, okay, we got this 3-movie arc with Indiana Jones that was excellent, and it ended with him riding off into the sunset. That's it. That's all we're getting. We're done. And then years later, we were given Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and a lot of us walked out of that movie wondering why. I mean, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, it had so many problems. It was kind of a dumb movie. It had a lot of memorable moments, and not for the right reasons. You all know what I'm talking about. And we were just kind of left sitting there. I'm like, all right, we'll just go ahead and pretend that doesn't exist and just go back to remembering the days where we had an Indiana Jones trilogy. And then we discovered that indeed a 5th Indiana Jones movie was going to be made, but there was a lot of discussion how it would go about. I mean, the rumors for a long time was Shia LaBeouf would take over, because that's kind of what was hinted at the end of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Then we heard that Chris Pratt was in line to be a younger or new Indiana Jones. Then we heard Harrison Ford was coming back, but Steven Spielberg wasn't going to direct it or anything like that. And finally it was confirmed we would get a 5th Indiana Jones movie, Harrison Ford would return, James Mangold was directed, and it would be supposedly the final Indiana Jones movie, or at least the last one with Harrison Ford. And I'll be honest, I was really looking forward to it, because I believed Disney wanted to make this movie to basically right the wrongs from Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Be like, okay, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was not the way Indiana Jones should have gone out. We were wrong there. Let's right the wrong. Let's bring in this great director in James Mangold, who's made some amazing movies, especially as of recent. Harrison Ford's back. We'll bring in Mads Mikkelsen to play the villain. I was thinking this should be hopefully the send-off that Indiana Jones deserves. Now getting into this movie, alright, Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones, once again, just crushes it. And that's a big test that goes to Harrison Ford. Like, honestly, God bless him. Alright, he is this 80-year-old man, and he is still doing these crazy action movies and stunts. I mean, I don't know how many of these stunts he can really physically do anymore, but I imagine whatever he was capable of doing, he did, and that's remarkable. And you can tell he clearly loves this character. He wants to do this character justice. He wants to give us a great Indiana Jones movie, and he is pouring everything he can into this role because of how much he cares about it and how much he knows we care about it. Also, another character I'll really give props to right now, Mads Mikkelsen is the villain. I really liked him as this Nazi scientist and just the lengths he's going to accomplish his mission. Because he quickly tells everyone why he's going after the Dial of Destiny, why he's got his unit doing what they're doing, and you ultimately hear the reasoning behind his plan and what he intends to do with it, and I was like, you know what? That makes sense. Not in any way, shape, or form that I agree with what he was doing, but more so in the sense I'm like, I can understand from a villain's perspective why he wants to get this Dial of Destiny and use it for the plans that he has. So yeah, essentially the two areas that I was most certain about, which was Harrison Ford and Mads Mikkelsen being good in this movie, were in fact good in this movie. I will say this much before I go any further. The cast in this movie does a good job. Like, there's no one here who gives a bad performance, who really phones it in. Everyone was here given the best that they were given. And now I'm gonna get into some of the other characters that are in this movie. Okay, Phoebe Waller-Bridge is Helena Shaw, Indy's goddaughter. She's meant to be like the big new entry in this. She's, you know, his partner throughout this journey. I think performance-wise, Phoebe Waller-Bridge does a very good job here. However, the character of Helena Shaw, I didn't like her at all. You look at the previous Indiana Jones movies, whether it was Marion or any of his other love interests that were accompanying him on the trip, or characters like Short Round or Mutt Williams or whoever it might have been, his dad. There was a level of chemistry with each of them in each of those Indy movies that you bought into them being a team with Indy going on this adventure. In ways you cared about the characters, you cared about the relationship between them and Indy, and you wanted basically everyone to succeed and come out of this trip with something. I'm gonna say it was more so the way she was written, but Helena Shaw as a character, I didn't like her at all. I didn't think she had ideal chemistry with Indiana Jones. I mean, the whole time they're clearly on a different path and have a different goal with the treasure that they come away with. There's so many instances. She is straight up abandoning Indy. She's deceiving him. She's pretty much leaving him to just die. The whole time I'm looking at it, it's like, you clearly need him to accomplish what you need to accomplish, so why are you just trying to throw him aside whenever you feel he's not of use to you anymore? What really made it worse, there was another female character in this movie that I honestly feel the way her storyline was going and the way it seemed like the movie was setting her up, that she honestly would have been a much better partner to Indiana Jones than Helena Shaw was. However, the story didn't take that route, and thus we are left with this little dynamic duo that you feel like kind of hates each other. So as a result, what does that do to the adventure? It makes the adventure feel long, drawn out, and kind of boring. Because the whole time, you don't really feel like the characters want to be on this quest or on this adventure or really looking for this thing for the right reasons anyway. So it kind of just has you sitting there just wanting to get to the end of it where they finally get the thing. And that's kind of a disappointment, because when you look at these Indiana Jones movies, you never really were watching them for the goal of them getting to the treasure at the end. The goal was to go on this adventure with these characters. Like, you're there with Indy, you're avoiding the traps, you're avoiding the Nazis, you're trying to get to the end without anybody dying, and you feel like you are there. It would suck you into this world. It was like being on this great roller coaster ride with all these thrills and turns and twists that you didn't see coming. If we're comparing these movies to rides, this one kind of feels like the fucking merry-go-round that you have to go on with your kid because your kid's not tall enough and, you know, the kid wants to do it. You're trying to be a good parent. The ride's not entertaining for you, you're just waiting to get to the end of it. And I blame a good majority of that pacing being on the fact that the two leads didn't really have any chemistry with each other. And it really makes me look back and be like, why couldn't Shia LaBeouf come back as Mutt Williams to partner up with Indiana Jones again? I mean, I get it, I know Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was not a good movie, but I don't know, put the father and son duo together again and, you know, have it under better directing or writing that you would hope for anyway, and, you know, maybe we'd be more into it. Or hell, Ke Huy Quan, why don't you bring him back to play Short Round again? I think that would have been awesome. I mean, the guy just won a fucking Oscar. You don't think he'd come back to work with Harrison Ford in the final Indiana Jones movie? I'll bet you $1 he would have. Also, another big problem that I have with this Indiana Jones movie is it kind of strays away from how the Indiana Jones movies have done their action scenes and have done their great filmmaking. Is that it's now trying to rely more on visual effects. The previous Indiana Jones movies didn't really rely on visual effects all that much. I mean, a lot of what they did, their action scenes and their chase scenes and everything that went into those, a lot of it relied on fantastic set pieces, incredible practical effects, and just excellent filmmaking and cinematography. Nowadays, because we've come as far as we have with technology and everything like that, Disney just feels like they don't want to put in the work to use the practical effects or the set pieces or anything like that. It's like, well, you know, we can CGI everything now, so let's just do that. I mean, hell, we get some flashback scenes and we see CGI face Harrison Ford because Indy has to look younger, and I gotta tell you, the CGI face, I'm really getting sick of seeing that. Because there are a lot of moments in this movie where you see CGI Indy and the way his mouth moves, the way he's supposed to be lined up with his face, it's just, the way it looked, I'm just like, this is clearly a CGI face, and it's taking me out of the movie. It's like, I don't know, sometimes I feel like Hollywood is so against old-fashioned, and sometimes in a movie like this, a little old-fashioned is not a bad thing. In fact, it would be a very good thing. And as a result of that, the movie doesn't really have any big-time action scenes that really stand out to me. I mean, there's one moment involving a train, I'll touch more on that in a second, but there's one moment involving that. That's probably the biggest standout scene I can remember from this movie. I mean, there was not much else in this movie that was really fun or really intense or really had me on the edge of my seat being like, yes, I am back in an Indiana Jones movie, let's go. There's nothing that really brought out that nostalgia in me. Nothing that really made the action seem all that memorable. And also, similar to the last Indiana Jones movie, this movie has some moments where it just expects you to just throw logic completely out the fucking window. There's not quite a nuke the fridge scene or Shia LaBeouf swinging with monkeys. There's not quite anything like that. But there are two moments in particular. There's one, Indiana Jones is hanging somewhere, looks like he's in peril, and then something comes in and just completely detonates and destroys all the enemies that are around him, but he comes away completely unscathed. Or the moment I'm sure you've heard about right now, someone is chasing Indiana Jones on the train, you know, the scene I alluded to earlier, and this person, as they're hanging from the train, they get absolutely just smacked by the pole that's on the side of the railroad track, and you're thinking, alright, well, that person's dead. And you know, sometime later you see that person again, and you're just thinking, how did you live through that? Again, it's nothing quite on the level of Nuke the Fridge, but it's a couple moments that still have you sitting there like,
come on.
I mean, yeah, maybe in previous Indiana Jones movies it wanted you to suspend your disbelief in some way, shape, or form, but the heart and the spirit of the movie was always so strong that you were always just able to completely roll with it. In this one, none of that's there, so when these things happen, you're not really willing to get on board with it. Also, I was really not a fan of the ending of this movie. I mean, it didn't really feel like they wanted to make a great conclusion to the final movie in this Indiana Jones franchise. It just kind of felt like, alright, we need a final 5 to 10 minutes here, so here, just do this. Okay, cool, it works. Roll with it. It's like, really? So that's the last we're gonna get of Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones? Well, alright then. So all in all, Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny, it was completely unnecessary. Harrison Ford and Mads Mikkelsen, they absolutely crush it in their roles. They really do the best they can for this movie. I mean, really all the actors in this movie give good performances, but there weren't a lot of characters beyond Indiana Jones that I really cared about. Helena Shaw, I really didn't like her dynamic with Indiana Jones at all. Not a lot of memorable action, they rely too much on visual effects, and not all of it is great visual effects. The movie's way longer than it needs to be. This movie's like, what, 2.5 hours? Maybe even longer than that. It didn't need to be that long. It feels dull, it feels boring. I was never as sucked into this adventure as I wanted to be. And that's the one thing you should be in an Indiana Jones movie. And in the end, the biggest question that's going to be asked with this movie is it a better movie than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull? Because that was really the bar that was being set with this movie. I mean, we all knew it wouldn't touch the trilogy, but it's like, could it be better than that? For my money, I honestly don't have an answer to that right now. It honestly makes me think to myself, because I did rewatch the Indiana Jones trilogy before I saw this movie, just so I could, you know, appreciate those again and just love them again and enjoy them again, but I didn't watch Kingdom of the Crystal Skull because I'm like, you know, fuck that movie. But now it's got me thinking, do I pop out the Blu-ray for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull that's been buried in my Indiana Jones collection and just watch it and really see if it's better or worse than Dial of Destiny? So yeah, the fact that this movie now has me wanting to go back and watch a movie that I really did not like, yeah, I don't know what to make of that. But it can't mean much that's good. So that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video, and as always, don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you all next time.